Okay. So look, did did it. I'm saying it's that's the one that actually stop the screen. Right, yeah. Yeah, I died on this one. Because damn freaking wrap up and recording that.
With balanced steps.
Need the material. You need grab wholesale material. Mm, there we go. Yeah, I actually fixed it. That's good. Oh, what do we want to ban? I'm kind of tired of seeing plain plays, and
The weak
my
fear
team
the
likes to feed
shadows.
into me.
Fear controls
Uh,
them.
I've been playing into them. My team really cannot.
Let us hunt those who have fallen to darkness.
I'll switch these around and I want the lane matchup from the game matchup. Uh, I'm going to play super. I knew he was going to be pinning us early as well. Um, Benz isn't really going to do too much in him. Neither is it going to do much in Dynamiting. Ben just get exhausted on this one. But we'll see what the matchup is. Yeah, more the rest. Um, okay. I guess we're going to Lady. So, what is. I guess, like, getting, whatever. Um, but they don't really have an AD. There's only really one person who can see seeing me. I think I'm gonna go with Swords. I'll go with Friends. I don't really have a tank, so other than that, dude. Oh, Senna's going AD. Who's their support then? Maybe Heinadina? I am so confused by this thing. It's like chance, like um yeah, he's top eight, so he's top young boy mid. I think all these platinum master players that keep getting matched up against. It seems a bit ridiculous. Not what it is as well as against Invade.
The shadows are to be feared.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I was gonna say Invade. And then yeah,
On wings of night.
30 seconds until minions
as
spawn.
Synergy Program and just cut blocking. It really doesn't like playing ball with League of Legends.
Our fates are intertwined.
It needs a bit more handy and it doesn't actually bind to.
Minions have spawned.
Wait. Yeah, use the right? Yeah.
First blood. An ally has been slain.
I'm going back. I got gold. I need to not miss too much CF, to be frank.
Evil lurks around every corner.
I mean, CF should be back late to the lane as well.
The dark should fear.
I've got like an extra 20 CS worth of gold, but that's about it. I need to really get this Cull cranking, and then I can get some big advantages. Like, yeah, they're gonna get two normally. Let's not get pinned by that card.
In the dark, all is laid.
Babe, you can aim for my heart when you find your own. Only thing bigger than this gun? The mistake you made standing in its sights.
Silver of the moon.
An enemy has been slain.
Yeah, very long. Yeah, boy. We don't need all that harass. Easy.
Evil lurks around every corner.
That's not a nice shield. Would have been good. But you feel way too fucking brilliant. Supposed to block the card, bro. I'm supposed to block the card.
The dark should fear me.
An ally has been slain.
I bring swift death.
An enemy has been slain.
Please. Last hit. Last hit. Last
All
hit.
is laid bare. The shadows are to be feared.
An enemy has been slain.
I am more than aware of how support works, and if you're a smart support, you brought up here, not down there.
I smell black magics.
Slain.
Where the fuck is my support? Where the fuck were you? You're a support. You're supposed to be supporting. Not roaming off into a lane doing
I
nothing.
hear the innocent cry out.
The actual fuck, dude. What the fuck are you doing? Dude, I am supporting this guy.
Evil lurks around every corner.
I am muting him first. He's fucking useless. He just blows through CS and just doesn't know how to last hit.
An enemy
Like, he's
has been
getting the passive. Yeah, see, he's wasting the wave away. I need it to push. Because I want them to lose CS.
I pass judgment. Cleansing blood with silver. Those are to be feared. On wings of night.
You're a good support. You know that was a waste of your stacks.
I smell black magics.
No, of course, it belongs up in the middle of the nether.
I hear the innocent cry.
An enemy has been slain.
That may.
I release them
Shut
from
down. An enemy has been slain.
evil lurks around every corner. But only should fear me. Beware. In the dark, all is light.
Definitely gonna go there.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain.
On wings of night.
You have been slain. An ally has been slain.
Thank God I muted him. He'd be fucking bitching. I honestly do not have the patience for him right now. Considering he just AFK out of my lane for ages, left me there to just get harassed by a long range. I'm gonna lose her as a result of his like leaving me. Leaving me in the middle of the lane. Yo, what up there? Sorry, I'm just having a rough game because people ignoring what they should be doing.
Double kill.
I pass judgment. I hear the innocent.
It would have been nice to have some of those turret plates, but Braun just left the lane. But I couldn't enjoy any of that extra gold. And I just got bullied out of my lane.
Evil lurks around every corner.
Dude, what the fuck is he doing mid? Seriously, dude. Do you not know what a bot lane is? Honestly, what is the fucking point?
The dark should fear me.
An enemy has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your turret has been destroyed. You have slain an enemy. Your turret has been destroyed.
We can't fight that, honestly.
An ally has been slain.
The shadows are to be feared.
Slain.
You fucking baited me! Mm.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
On wings of night.
Both Braun missed his Q. He missed his ult too. That is not a hard ult to land, dude. He's gonna see us. They've got this. There's no point in me going for that. Man, this Braum has just been the bane of my existence.
I release them from their pain.
Don't even bot. It's gonna be like that. Don't bot.
I hear the innocent cry.
Shut down.
Evil lurks around every corner.
Hurry up and push. Hurry up and push.
Killing spree. Shut down.
And I can't really fight her because, you know, she's big, because my support fucked off in lane and just let her get free farm on me.
Should fear me.
Would not have gone that way.
Beware.
An enemy has been slain.
Where the fuck even is my team, man?
An ally has been slain.
I am reporting this wrong for just, like, not being a support. He is supposed to be bot helping me out. There's a reason the role is called support, and for some reason he doesn't know how to do it. Sorry if I'm complaining, but that's just... He's been AFK from my lane for so long.
The shadows are to be feared.
getting pretty fucking sick of it.
Has been slain. You have slain an enemy. Your team has destroyed a turret.
I smell black magics. I hear the innocent cry out. The dark should fear me.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret.
They will be purified.
Wow, what if the damage timing is missing all that
An
CS?
ally has been slain.
Cleansing blood with soul.
Been slain. Shut down. Your turret has been destroyed.
In the dark, all is made clear. On wings.
An ally has been slain. Enemy killing spree. Enemy rampage.
Last for that, we had no wards either. We were just trying to get kills for stupid reasons. Being greedy. Oh, Braun just leading people into their death. Yeah, that was a dumb force. I have no objectives, and now we're gonna lose Baron on the board. Yeah. Very dumb. Yeah, like that's the majority of what this game has been, and this Braun has been causing a lot. Like now, he's trying to force something when it shouldn't be happening.
I pass judgment. I bring swift death.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Again, no vision.
I hear the innocent cry out. Evil lurks around every corner. The dark should fear me.
He is unstoppable.
Beware.
Again, like, don't force shit. What minion? You dead?
Dark. All is laid bare.
There were no minions around to be hit.
They will be purified. The shadows are to be feared. On wings of night. I smell the
An enemy has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
I hear the innocent cry.
You have slain an enemy. An ally has been slain.
Cleansing blood with silver.
Enemy double kill.
lurks around every corner.
Yeah, and then clarify that doesn't need to happen.
An enemy is dominating.
This, but I won't close my eyes.
What was happening there? That's intentional fading. Why you can't feed, baby? Why you can't feed? Would have liked to get that.
In the dark, all is laid bare.
Enemy rampage.
The shadows are to be feared.
An enemy has been slaughtered.
Forever CC! So much CC! Braun had to save the shield. Honestly, there were so there were 3 players to begin with where he just didn't do the right thing. And then he entered, got mad, left lane, left me there for a good solid 8 minutes to have to struggle to find me.
On wings. I smell black magic.
Reason a couple of people play that channel.
I
Straight
hear
up
the
insane.
innocent
An
cry.
enemy is dominating.
I pass judgment.
Enemy double kill.
Get me out of this game. Top lane's been insane, and this support is no support. All we had to do was put a shield up for Twisted Fate card, and we couldn't even do that. And then when he got mad about it, he left me. I think that's enough league for tonight. Honestly, if I'm gonna get people like that, there's no point in playing. Got a role, play it. It's called a role playing game for a reason. In personal warfare, no one knows that Ziggs for actual time. to continue. Let's ban you for negative attitude. That would be intentional. This case here. Not she yeah, just those two people making the game bad. I mean, Silence said some bad stuff, but he wasn't just straight up abusive like the two of them. Those two are just straight up abusive and like didn't play essentially. Intentionally made things hard for the team. Honestly, I think I need to start playing top up because like these jungles are thrown, and then because if you take a look, I bet you that jungle had a huge lead up on ours. Because again, it's silent jungle, so what the fuck do you expect? You know, 787, so not too huge of a lead. Didn't even lead so much in CS, but it was those dragons that was putting them in the fun. And then, yeah, she had free fun. He complains that I'm getting outplayed. It's like, dude, I've been bullied in my lane because my support left me to 1v2. I'm gonna try one game with jungle. If that goes well, then awesome. If not, then honestly just pick down lane. You do not have a bad man phone. What do you feel with no? Your time,
You overstep.
hey, she wasn't picked.
the dawn.
Secret is I did. That's a fact, right? I wasn't. That's a great. That's someone who knows how to support. The guy with the brain, with the brawn was just.
Our performance begins.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Seconds until minions spawn.
Art requires a certain purity.
First blood.
I have risen from the filth and muck. I am the lotus blossom.
Minions have spawned.
They did.
Behind every mask is another mask.
One TF, but I got the experience at least, which is good.
Do you feel the atmosphere? Happiness is a warm gun.
Slain an enemy.
Death is certain.
Big plays having games.
To be ugly. Bliss comes only in the moment before.
Executed.
My genius will be understood.
An enemy has been slain.
Orchestrate death. Yes, the gun is ironic. Smile, everyone is watching. I envy silence because I must be loud. Which is the lie? The mask on my face. Everyone wears a mask. I just chose to create my own. My critics are usually short-lived.
Shut down.
There is nothing for me but this.
Yeah, there's no point in giving in big kills when we don't need to. I think he's probably going to go dragon because our jungle's not really on it.
Every element
Yeah.
must be in place.
At least lots of paying attention, that's nice. It's too bad that she wasn't paying attention to that mid room.
Killing spree. You have slain an enemy.
Places, please. I serve a discerning clientele.
I think it's just been getting bullied. Fucking,
Art must exist beyond reason.
An enemy has been slain.
If I get this outfit dirty, I'm going to be so Why? Symmetry is so boring. I could miss your performance.
Has been slain. Rampage.
I was paid to put on a killer show.
You have slain an enemy. Unstoppable.
The earth reflects your torment.
Perfection isn't good enough.
Killing spree.
I believe you're gone.
Dominating.
I am the team's one death though, so technically I am the leader of the team though. But this is all I needed. I needed the support that actually paid attention and actually stuck to the lane. That last support I had did nothing for me.
Each bullet will be a dance. You inspire me. A costume.
Down.
I should have him.
Slain an enemy.
I do not do it.
Now we've got that, that shouldn't happen again.
Smiles and screams. I bring both.
That was a very aggressive view.
It is only when the fires
Has been slain.
Okay, they surrendered.
Victory.
And just as the game was getting good, I think the last is too triggered. Yeah, it's all mold. Yeah, he leaves away after this stupid greedy play he made. Honestly, no surprise. He did a real, really, really greedy play. Didn't even get to use my yellow force. That way, that's not fast for me. It's freaking rough games tonight. I guess I shouldn't expect it better from League of Legends. 50. Rotate. No. Wait, input. There. That you can press on return. Or where I expect. And technically what we can do is instead of going through there, we can store it in there and then find it in one spot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just used to completing. Mhm. Mhm. So I should do a game called Impressive to give me the ability to then fetch them back. Um, and subscribe to these. There we go, go to the check. One thing I did neglect to do was as much as I could do. Control the way I said about it. Yeah, the outdoor for the but wanting to get the 52 events later on that reset. Well, the next is cool. It just keeps us classic inside. Well, that could be on this. Down. It's the whisper. Yeah, thank you. Right. That's me to know. Ah, yeah, it's all right. Sorry if you messaged a while ago. I was a bit distracted by the code. Yeah, played a couple of games of League. They've been a little bit frustrating. We won the last one. It was a stomp, but again, I think that's enough struggle for today. I'm gonna step back, maybe write some code, and just chat if people come in. So yeah, I'm gonna slow down in regards to this playing with angry people. Really help people. Okay, yeah, sorry. Let me see if I can play around with these settings. Ah, okay, let's check that. Let's go here. Need to essentially amplify my microphone volume, I think. Um, yeah, that's not gonna give me quite what I want. Let's go here to volume settings. Okay, that's not the one I wanted. But actually, let's try it this way. Device properties, I think. No additional device properties. The way they have this set up is so silly. Yeah, so that's 100. Let's do a boost about 80 decibels. I guess 30 decibels apparently. It's fine. Okay. Let's see. Is that any better? Much better? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just ended up doing a boost to the microphone volume. Is the quality of the sound worse though? I'd imagine with that boost there'd be a lot of like feedback and stuff potentially going on. Or did it just get worse again? About the same, but I hear no feedback. As in, like, it's louder, or it's the same volume and there's no feedback. Hmm. No, 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 no. Volume is good, quality is about the same in like hearing pronouncing words. Okay, so I'm guessing my pronunciation is garbage then. um, oh, you hurt me so. The insult is real. Um, yeah, so I'm just playing around. Underwater Ray Romano. Jesus. Something makes me feel like maybe that's not very good quality coming from my mic. It is currently going through a laptop mic to my right, because I've got two laptops here, and there's one that's playing the audio, this streaming. It usually does video, and it runs all my other stuff for doing the streaming. And then I've got my main laptop here, which is my new one, which allows me to play all the games and everything. It's a 3080 Ti in this laptop. It's 240 hertz or something. And then I've got a 4K pass-through, an AVerMedia portable, which essentially takes input from this main laptop and then passes it through to the other laptop to stream. But it ends up being a bit of a funky setup. So, what I'm currently trying to do is inside of your room, when I can find it, please. I've got an event that's firing at the moment that shouldn't be firing in regards to input. Clear that, restart, that instantly ready, doesn't it? What are you going to get? I'm sure it's something I don't need to worry about. There's something to expect. Hmm. 4K on the 17-inch screen? Yeah, I know, right? Because that's necessary. Yeah, see, the input is going to. I'm doing left and it looks like I'm going forward. Yeah, left and right, I'm going back and forth. What should be happening is the character should be rotating. That 4K on the 17-inch screen is struggle, man. I had to bump all of the applications up to 150% because you just can't see anything. It's all tiny icons and tiny text. They tried to find a needle in a haystack. Well, that's the easiest way to do it. Well, the easiest way to put yourself in that situation. So, I think it's because I've got it in camera rotation, and it shouldn't be happening in camera rotation. The only thing that it should be passing in camera rotation should be this one that you're because it's still taking an old input here. Mouse. No, those are fine. Right stick, left stick, and those are presses. These are the actual sticks. And then gamepad right stick isn't being used in here. The camera look is doing, and that's what camera dot pivot transform that URL is. That I can take out now. I've extracted that into another class. This can be input, so this is what I was using it, but now I've got logic. That's the pressed. This can be pulled out. This can turn into events with no parameters. And we'll feed that into Yarn, and we'll just double check that it's doing the same thing in this class. Yeah. Cool. So that helps simplify the class and keep it out of this class because it's going to be used in several places. Why is it rotating the camera to the side when it should be rotating the actual player itself? Have a look. Yeah, that's the actual player. The player should be getting rotated by this. Yeah. But I guess the main thing I'm going to check is okay, so I'm going to find all reference. Yeah, sorry if this doesn't really make any sense to you. I don't know if you've done any coding in your spare time effort. So this form is here, and this form is here. It's being used inside player rotation and player camera look. Player camera look should only be doing yeah, I think I might know what's going on with the player camera look. Okay, so this needs to be pressed in order to work. So the black pad stick is pressed. However, for the actual player rotation, this needs to not be pressed in order to work. So let's just double check. So check against into this, that's fine. Okay. Not press. No, if it is pressed, then it's turn, and the other one needs to be the reverse. If it's not. Okay, so the reason for that is essentially I want to be able to rotate the camera and zoom in if I am using the right stick pressed. What are you giving me here? I'm trying to map. See, that's more what I was expecting. This may seem relatively simple, but I was just trying to get it so that it always moves forward based on the camera if I haven't done a press. So it's actually rotating the object here, left and right, so that the forward direction of that object is the direction I actually end up moving. Whereas what was happening before was the camera, which is like a child object of this, was rotating around this object. So the actual view would change, but the forward direction of this object wouldn't. The direction, so it moved in the direction in the XZ axis based on camera direction. Yeah. So what was supposed to happen is the object was supposed to rotate on the Y, so the forward direction of the object would rotate. So that when I press forward on my controller, it would actually go in the forward direction of my view. Whereas what was happening was I didn't have, it was reading the input incorrect and it was rotating the camera instead. So when I was expecting to be walking forward, I'd be walking based on my original object rotation, not the rotation the camera was now facing. Yeah. So now it's playing ball. So I'm moving in the correct direction. Left and right, forward and back. Sweet. Yeah, it was doing some really weird shit. So if I... Ooh, what's going on there? Oh, I was complaining about something. Wow. They could go for at least 8 bites, but got buffer with just 4 bites. Okay, I think I know what's happening. So if I go to player input, gamepad, left stick, and gamepad. Let's press and press, we check, that's getting a feedback. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a stick press. Whereas, yeah, so button. Yeah, it's either button or its value. So I'll leave it on button. And then go into the code just very quickly. And check that the value is expecting is actually correct. Go to here. That is input. Bunch of like classes I created. It shouldn't be doing that in the base input. We are expecting it to do this base input. So not the interface, the actual class. Conditions can be doing input. Steps. That seems fine. The main thing is it just wants to know that it started and stopped. Yeah, just gets past contact, that's all. Not obviously necessarily complaining about them. Buffering with these 8 bytes, but buffering with 4 bytes. It's out because it's not supposed to be affected to you, but rather different input. No, I would expect it to be a vector 2, so up, down, left, right. So why is it complaining about vector 2 being running? Yeah, it's being passed vector 2s. Again, vector 2s. It should be requiring a vector 2 to be passed in as well. It can't just pass in anything. It's returning a vector 2 type. So it's been not to split hairs, but wouldn't it be forward, back, left, right? Forward, back, left, right. Yeah. So this is an interesting one. It's usually considered up, down, left, right for X and Y axes, because usually the Y axis is done on the up vector, whereas the X axis is done on the left and right vector. And the forward axis or forward back is your Z, so that's your depth. You've got your height, your length, and then your depth. but height is y, length is x, and depth is z. For other programs, you have x being right, y being forward, and z being up and down. So, for example, 3ds Max will use that, and a couple others do use that as well. But Unity particularly likes using x and y on the up, down, left, right. I'm just used to referring to y as up, down. And usually, the other reason why we do that is for 2D games, there's x and y, and then for 3D, add the extra vector, which is z. So that's going forward and back. And the other thing to take into account is when we do a vector 3, it's usually the components of that is x, x, y, z. And then when you get a vector 4, it's w for some reason, x, y, z is w for some reason. Generally, you don't play around with those unless you're doing matrices or unless you're messing with quaternions, and they're a whole different one. I'm working on the height in the sense of like I'm rotating around the y-axis, and I need to know the direction based on x and z. Yeah, W can be like an object growing in size, and it's more like the amount of influence that each of the components can have. There can be a couple of reasons for using that fourth dimension. Sometimes people say it's a scale of time, is what the fourth dimension is, but it's really a matter of interpretation and what you're using it for. So usually in Unity, so for your position, you have X, Y, Z. You then have a rotation. So you have a position in space along a grid. Then you have a rotation, which is essentially your direction that you face, your forward direction. So you have a forward, back, you have an up, a down, and you have a left and a right. And then you have a scale. So that size you're talking about is more done as its own vector 3, which is essentially your, like, how wide are you? How tall are you? And how thick are you? God, I mean, if this isn't really breaking anything at the end of the day, what I could do is quickly check if it's being funny. So the active state. Where is my actual code that extract input 41? Context.unity. Interesting. So I guess this is where it's expecting a certain value, but it's not actually returning. Yeah, the dimensions of the object. Maybe. In this code, what else we have? Yeah, there's several different dimensions to an object. There's your position, your rotation, and your scale. Other things can be done to measure time and change and so on, but they're the most primitive: position, rotation, scale. Ah, so if that is throwing chips about that, there you go. Let's have a look. I think it has to do with this stick press. Because it doesn't happen on normal gamepad rotation. But something makes me think that it's the stick press that's causing tab issues. And this is supposed to be so. Back down here, and this is also on. Well, need to make sure I don't introduce some bugs to this. It's up takes error log fill up the cage. Yeah, might as well. I think it's because it's expecting an amount of down. It's not necessarily just a button per se, as it is a like a pressure. But I think what's happening here is this needs to be a value. This needs to be a delta potentially, and then this needs to no, not a delta. Yeah, I think it's an analog. It's expecting it to have like an amount of downward values, so 0 to 1. So what I'm gonna do is do that, and then I need to do the same for the left split. So that's a bit press. Save that. I need to exit plane as well. That helps. Okay, so save that. Make sure that you've got value analog here. Let's stick press. Fill out this analog. Now, I believe analog is just a float value, so like a 0 to 1 could be 0.11111, whatever value based on how much you press on it. I was originally just expecting it to be like a button value where it's either on or off, but I think it's complaining about that. So if it is this case, then what I need to do is I copy this, place float, yeah, and replace this. Oops, when I get rid of the new value. Let's go down. This also needs to be an ice rough input because so the reason why I've got interfaces set up instead of classes, so these ones up here are classes and these ones down here are interfaces, is I only want people to be able to access these two methods, whereas the actual class that I'm making an instance of has all of this extra stuff going. I don't want them to be able to play with that. That's you and replace you. Okay, cool. So this means that this now should require a float value in order to operate. It also means that I have to go into this class now and change this to be a float value. But for this one, I'll literally just ignore it. I won't bother passing through anything. It's literally just there to force an effort to occur. I mean, if anything, that doesn't really need to be a check events. I can just hide that. Yeah, actually, I can do that. So I can actually get rid of this stuff here. Not that extra one. And the reason for that being is now that I've got that logic stuff inside this player input class down the bottom, and then that holds on to an instance of whether the button's been pressed or not, these other classes referencing that can just call this right here. and say, hey, I like this, I'm going to do something, or I don't like this, I'm going to not do something. Yeah, I do clean one up. Clean this one up. Yep, this. Get views. So if I go in here now, you give it a look. I know that wasn't causing anything to not work. It's just that it might cause issues later on down the track. So to have proper input, yeah, so it's still having issues. Expected buffer for at least 8 bytes before buffer is plus. Doesn't even have an issue otherwise. Interesting that it stops up and down after that. Is that the case before though? So it's similar to a file accessing a folder directly and opening a batch file, right? What? It's similar to a file accessing a folder directly and opening a batch file. I mean, I guess. Sort of. I mean, I guess you could use that as a relation to the sort of link that it has between these two files. But yeah, the essence of it is essentially to go to somewhere expecting some code to be run. And if it doesn't find it, then it's going to have an issue. If it does find it, then happy days. But in the case of an interface, essentially what I've done is there's a file somewhere with all the logic in it, and then that's hidden in some directory that I can't access normally. And then I've made another file that sits somewhere in a directory I can access that has a very limited amount of functionality referencing the main file. And then this is like the front of a shop. So I go to a shop and I want to buy something, and I'm like a client or a customer. And you give me a certain amount of like things in the store that I can look at and purchase. But as a customer, I'm only interested in purchasing this object for a purpose. Whereas in order for the object or the product to get there, it needs to be produced by someone, it needs to be shipped around. There's all this other functionality that goes on that I as a customer really don't need to know about to purchase and use this object. So yeah, it's essentially like a storefront where I can purchase something and do something with this object. I don't need to know about all the workings of the object in order to do what I need to do with it. Whereas as a programmer, I do need to do that because I'm building everything. It's just that if other programmers come along and they try to interface with it, then they're only given what they need. They don't have to worry about the rest of what's going on. Customer equals user and backend dev is shop owner. I'd say customer is user, a front-end dev is the shop owner, and a back-end dev is the person like producing the items and moving them around, like shipping them. And then the front-end developer runs the shop and sells them to people, and then the user is the one that's just coming in and purchasing stuff. So apparently my right stick up and down doesn't work anymore. But the rotation works fine. So I think that has to do with this look. So what actually needs to happen with this look is I do need to fire the logic in here. However, the camera rotation is what couldn't be occurred. Well, the look was fine, it was the camera rotation that didn't look. But the question is this camera rotation happening on the X or the Y? So it's happening on the X, so the... Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this is correct. But this camera rotation isn't fine anymore. I think that's because it should be pulling in this. The gamepad right stick needs to operate on this as well. And go. Yeah. Okay, cool. So actually moving up and down now. That makes it all shiny and appealing, and back end is the shipper producer, etc. Yeah, essentially. It's a line coding. So, I was self-taught, so I started programming like HTML and CSS. Well, yeah, essentially HTML back in when I was 8, so 21 years ago, and I did it like little bit every now and then, nothing too full on. And then when I hit 15, I picked up code again and started doing some C++, and that was a bit of punishment for myself. I kind of did it for a couple months and then stopped. And then when I hit 19, I started to pick it up properly again. That's when I started playing with the Unity engine and teaching myself some of it. And then after about 2 years of it, I went, okay, I actually want to do this as work, and then decided I'll go to uni. So I ended up doing 4 years of uni, and got my software engineering degree out of the way. And then, yeah, before I knew it, I was off doing web dev and local council, like master data and asset management systems, essentially doing, I guess, sysadmin in a sense. Also building small programs in Python and VB. But yeah, the start of my career, I guess, was C#, then Java, then a bit of Python, some more Java, more C#, C++, then shifted into like Visual Basic and some little bit of C. And then obviously like JavaScript and all the templating languages like HTML and CSS. Yeah. And then obviously like SQL and NoSQL. I see something cool as fuck. It's an AI neural network that simulates a hallucinogenic experience. What? Google Deep Dream. What? I mean, I met a guy that was doing lucid dreaming as like his, I guess, personal pet project. Didn't know Google was doing some sort of, I guess, acid trip simulation. It's like the simplest way I can say it. Executive form, they've actually played the same mouse. What is this buffer for? At least 8 bytes, but the buffer is just 4 bytes. Makes no sense. It's cool real time. Well, okay, I'll need to turn on Synergy to grab that one. But it's running on my other computer, and I use Synergy to be able to go between computers with the same mouse and stuff. So, damn it, won't let me click the link. Well, copy it, you have to click me onto it. But this is just like it trying to produce random stuff with a lot of bright colors, or I'm confused. Or is this just like the AI's interpretation of what an acid trip was like? Weird. Basic chronic bacteria or pond. Ah, okay. Yeah, no, I've come across a couple of those. I had at work, there's a couple of the 3D guys use this software, this AI software in Discord or something, which essentially you give it like a set of words and then like a topic or something, and then it generates a whole image. They use it for a lot of like backgrounds and backdrops and stuff, which is pretty cool. You can get a pretty sweet looking image to start from just by giving it a couple of words. And they usually do that for any like backgrounds or anything you need to do for work. This also needs to be not easy. Oh, it's 8-byte buffer and 4 bytes for Zolt businesses. Not cool, though. Why is it giving me that? Very much could not be giving me that. Save asset, press play. Yeah, I can't remember what that neural network AI solution is that they were mentioning, by the way. If I do remember, I'll let you know. I'm sure it's in my Discord somewhere. What are you doing? Why are you giving me such weird I think I know what's going on. Okay, let's check mood. Mouse is fine. Fine. Rotate is only based on mouse now. Yeah, so I think this is the only value that is having a career. I found interesting about the video was it's similar to how the human brain works. Like during a hallucinogenic experience, you draw up of life experiences, memories, i.e. prompt, and streamlines them into visual information, but basically it's a digital shrink. Yeah, like, it's essentially just enhancing, I guess, colors, flavors, and experiences. And I guess that's the main thing that people experience from that is it's giving them, in a sense, an overdose or an overwhelming amount of some sort of chemical reaction or attraction to something. If anything, it enables you to focus more in on one thing at a time. So it becomes more powerful, more overwhelming. Some enable you to focus on one thing, whereas others enable you to, I guess, focus on more things at once. Which is why all these different things have their own purposes. And I feel like some people naturally produce some more of one thing than another thing, like a chemical imbalance essentially, which enables them to either focus more on one thing or focus more on many things, or not be able to focus on any one thing because they're so pulled in by so many things. So I believe that people could get these trips or these experiences purely from their natural chemical imbalance, but then they get used to it. So that's just the way their life is. And then when they introduce something like this, then that's when they actually start to become more normal, in a sense, because they're starting to hit a proper chemical balance. So I believe that people could actually have these experiences or these potential trips naturally because of how their body produces these chemicals. Albeit, it's kind of like a variation to the build-up of your body for this to happen. And it's kind of like an outlier in a sense. Not every person is built the same. It's kind of like how someone can overdose on something really easily. they feel no experience from something when it's been given to them. I mean, it's the same deal for me. Whenever I've given morphine, I've been given it for when I had stitches in my hands. And normally you would expect morphine to dull the senses and act as an anesthetic. But when they gave it to me, it actually enhanced my senses and caused me to experience pain in a, I guess, much more influential way. It was a lot more impactful and powerful, and it made things. Prolonged hallucinogens cause psychosis and schizophrenia. It's elevated basic levels of chemicals in the body adjusted. Yeah, so the body's adjusted to it, and it's like the norm. And the moment it even slightly shifts, it causes a massive mental change. That's essentially the call for it, and that's what causes a lot of issues with mental health or with these disorders. Bipolar is in the same sort of region as well, because you can be overwhelmed by just a small amount of some chemical in your system. You can go from being fine to the next moment not being fine and wanting to put a hole in it. So I think what's going on with this is it's this right stick zoom that's causing shit to break. So if that is the case, I'm pretty sure what I want to do is potentially delete this. But before I delete it, let's turn this off. Let's go into here. And let's check my play camera. So we've got a zoom value. So I think it needs to happen with this zoom value is I still need to have this green and black stick in this one as well. This. So, like, you mentioned that, like, you've got this experience on this trip, and you mentioned, like, mental health stuff. Do you feel like you yourself go through any of these experiences? Like, have you experienced depression? Or is it more that you've been surrounded by it and you're aware of it? You know that it's something that's not so fortunate. Because usually I find people that are aware of it are generally people that have gone through it, or have something really close to them that have really gone through it. There are a lot of people that choose not to address the issue. My diet is correlated with healthiness and simulated by like digital diet and output by that's 20 years doing it. Yeah, like being able to be fed a certain thing. Like essentially that's what they were messing around with astronauts. They were feeding them very specific concentrations of compounds in order to level them out. And they had to because they were limited to the amount of I guess, sustenance they could send up with it. And again, like, it's not a perfect science. They're still messing it up because it's relatively unexplored territory. People have just eaten what they needed to eat in order to live another day. But it's been happening a lot more that people have been paying attention to this because they need to. Well, not necessarily because they need to, they have the ability to, and culture is causing it to. It's very hallucinations use of very long stimulant use in the 16 and the mid 2000s involved with mental health and having ADD/ADHD, and they were prescribed stimulants to do better in school. It's pretty bad. Yeah. So what age are you? Which bracket, sorry? You were growing up in 2000, mid-2000s. So teen and mid-2000s. But I'm assuming you're in 80s, probably like mid-80s, 85 or something. That's when you were born. Maybe a bit earlier. yeah, it's unfortunate with medications that in order to stabilize you, um, because it means that you'll be on them for the rest of your life usually. It also means that um, if for one reason they stop producing it, or there's only one company that's producing it, then they can essentially monopolize the market and make it insane to get your hands on this medication that you so desperately need. Um, which is kind of rude if I'm gonna put my 2 cents in there about that. It's very rude of them to monopolize markets. I think that's what happened with the HIV medication. They essentially went, oh, we're the only one that produced it, and we've got a patent on it, and we're going to monopolize it. Thanks. $900 a pill. Okay, I think I know what's going on here. It's expecting this to be, yeah, it's expecting it to be a axis value. But this place returning is very much not an axis value. Yeah. So what needs to happen from this is this needs to not be firing that. It's this. And you essentially do this, but take a vector 2. This also needs to be relabeled to be value. Here, label it, 0 here. Next, I believe me, I think so. The non-market side of pharmaceuticals, but yeah, HIV positive people were screwed over to recently meds where after insurance 10K a month, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. They were monopolizing the living shit out of that sometime, which is really sad, to say the least, because you're essentially pulling something that many people are extremely reliant off the market. And that can do things to people. It can send them into all sorts of depressions. It can cause them to do things that they normally do. Potentially end up with people killing themselves because they can't get this thing that they honestly believe their life depends on. And in some cases, their life does depend. This is the vector 2 value stuff that's dealt with now, so I can essentially pull this out. What needs to happen here, though, is I can pull that out to save the answer, and I need to do a check in here to make sure that the big down isn't being fired. So, yeah, it's the prioritization. It's this one that is, but it's got a real, yeah, it's got. And this needs to be taken out because that logic is old and great. What was it? We've had the current, yeah, no, that's all of the stuff. This needs to essentially have going into here. Let's play. So you should have seen how scummy Big Pharma ads were against the Affordable Care. Like, think of our children, like the adults. We need to overprice the shit out of it and drive people to suicide because they can't afford their meds. Yeah, Big Pharma are in it for $1. That is essentially the premises behind Big Pharma. Unless they are like a not-for-profit, and even quite often not-for-profits try to circumvent things in order to make a profit. They just kind of push it under the rug and make you believe they're not doing it. But yeah, I'd say the majority of big pharma is like that, unfortunately. And if you try to provide an alternative source or solution to the problem, then you can kind of get squished as a normal person. It's the same deal with trying to replace the paper market. There's going to be some really big player in that that's going to not be happy about you taking them out of business. Business is a scary place for people who are trying to produce new products that make others obsolete, particularly the wood industry, the big one. They're having fun tearing down whole forests and ecosystems. And if you produce a alternative solution that would make it obsolete and help the planet in the process, you may have the intention of helping the planet, but in their eyes, you're sending it out of business. The same for coal and big oil, yeah, any of those big ones. But yeah, that's usually the problem with that. Usually you have to end up taking a slower approach to providing a solution, and quite often it has to get approved. There's a lot of people that will put it down. It's people that fight for coal as a greener solution. I know there are a couple of parties, I guess the leading parties in Australia that are promoting coal as a greener alternative to all these green alternatives that are being proposed, solar farming, wind farming. There's essentially like turbine water, steam farming and stuff as well. All of those were being shut down. Yeah, if you could play yeah, so my left and right is working again, the up and down isn't. Yeah, so as what is working left and right. Left is weird again. Yeah, so it's working more or less on the right stick when I press, but it's not doing the camera up and down again. I think that's because I shifted a piece of code in here that shouldn't have been shifted. So I think it's this. But I think what should be happening is the camera can look left and right when the right stick is pressed. However, yeah, there we go. That's what I expect. However, it shouldn't be looking up and down. No, not on the clock. This is a side project. Like, I've got a ton of side projects that I fuck around, and this is just one of those ones where I'm playing with controller inputs. So this is mouse input, and all of that seems to work fine. But this is controller input, and I'm trying to get it to work and play ball. Cool. Seems more or less good. Next thing is good. Let's turn this off. That's going to get annoying to play. Yeah, you're fine. You're not really distracted that much. It gives me the ability to actually talk about some topics that usually don't get discussed. I'm not off, and I want to go through the play this one. Awesome. So what was happening with the zoom is that the camera rotation is still occurring. So if it's pressed in, camera still couldn't be rotating up here. So again, that return rotation and like this press return. That's good. Taking in a value that is applying the y change to the x. Okay, so this should still be rotating when it's pressed, so we need to turn that off. And the rotation is what can be turned off quite often these like logic statements are going to pain in the ass because they're the ones you can't really find very easily. It's still allowing me to go up and down though. I don't want that. I want to be able to zoom in when I have the right stick press, but I don't want to be able to go up and down. What is this one? If it's pressed and it's returned, that's fine. It's still doing it. Annoying. And this is kind of irritating. So what is the difference between this rotation and one? Okay. So what's happening here is this logic needs to be applied, I believe, here. So the rotation on the y should still occur, but the rotation on the x shouldn't. So it should be a case of if this is pressed, then essentially what we want to do is ignore this. So if it's not pressed, then we can set the rotation going up and down. But if it is pressed, then we should be only focusing on the left and right. Before what was happening, and let me just double check, is it was just straight up returning and not firing that. So that's not what we want. Not what we want. So, we're going to zoom in and we're going to zoom out. It's still going up and down there. It's going up and right. Still going up and down. Very much. Alright, so inflation. Okay, camera rotation is purely setting. Yeah, purely setting the left. That's exactly it. This camera rotation should be occurring when I don't have the game right stick press, whereas the camera look should be what's occurring when I have it. Yeah, here we go. Now it's zooming out in and out appropriately, so it's not doing the like up and down. It's just doing in out. And then my left and right still work, which is exactly what I want. Left, and I can go right, I can zoom in, zoom out, and I can zoom in. However, that input is incorrect. So that means that happening here is camera look that gets passed in from these vector 2s, I need to flip that Y value. So, two value X and minus value Y. Honestly, what I can do is instead of passing the little object, I can just go and I can pass it in. Whoops. This isn't the class I want to be doing it in. Yeah, let's leave that class alone. It's this zoom one. So this needs to pass the value.y that has a negative, because we need to flip it. Or essentially do the inverse of what the value is providing us. So, yeah, okay, right. That's not cool. What are you doing, buddy? Rotating the camera. That's what it did. Let's get camera to the transform. Let's get 7. The transform. It's going on the apps, so that should be fine. Let's clarification should be getting affected by this. I know what's going on. Yeah. So what needs to happen is here, and rest, and then return. The camera look shouldn't be doing anything when it's not pressed. However, if it is pressed, then we need to not apply this failure. I think. Let's just clean it up here again. It's not pressed and don't do it. If it is pressed and do this, however, we need to check that it's not pressed in order to be able to rotate the up and down. Yeah, okay. Wow, that was a bit of a funky piece of logic there. It's because I had to I originally had this built one way and I had to completely change it because the input system in Unity is a bit weird. And it doesn't like to play ball when you have one type of input that uses the same sort of buttons and just assumes that you want to do everything that uses that one button, which is very much not the case. Yeah, so that camera rotation doesn't reset again, which is not ideal. So if I'm going to spin about, I need to reset my camera. Yeah. So on stop, need to reset the view. Yeah, so it happens when I stop with the mouse, and it also needs to happen when I stop with the rotation. Seems to be fantastic. The other thing I've got to take into account is if I'm not using a gamepad. So I noticed my left click wasn't working because of this gamepad logic. What needs to happen is if I grab that, it's back. Put this inside of, yeah, essentially. So I need to have gamepad start and gamepad stop. Because I can't have them being part of the keyboard logic as well. I need to dump this in here. Look again, still. Actually, I can just cut this in. It's essentially the same logic. It's just I need to put something in front of it. Cool. Hey, but essentially what this is doing is if I use the gamepad, it needs to check that this input isn't being pressed, and then it can fire the start value. Otherwise, I'm expecting it to be a keyboard input. And this can happen regardless of that. Performance is essentially the same thing needs to happen with these other classes that we can use. Because they couldn't be directly tied to gamepad input. Change it to and then I do this stuff. I can essentially copy this. I can just yeah. There's that cameras in. It's surely enough I had implementations for that as well. This seems to do this. I might just quickly grab this if we're playing this seems to be if we're here. Computer Bluetooth, I need to send off something. Okay, weird. But those Bluetooth drivers messing up. My webcam decided it doesn't want to work anymore for some odd reason, which is nice. Not really, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. It's not really accurate. Yeah. Yeah. And then we get into play rotation. This is purely just around rotation logic, because I wanted to mix and match the rotation logic together, which obviously made things a lot more complicated when I had to go down that track. And, yeah, but I think that's it for those pieces of logic. Um, and what needs to happen is, I think, in here the camera look. Yeah, this right here. Um, that's gonna be a pain in the ass. No, I think that's fine actually, as long as you just don't have game time. It's like you're right. Left and right are working. I'm moving based on the forward vector. There's no zooming in or out. There's just the rotation. So I'm able to rotate left and right. Okay, so I can zoom in and out, that's fine, but this left and right business doesn't cancel out. It actually finishes. I think that was because, if I'm not really wrong, um, it's not registering the actual like de-clicking of the button. But yeah, this right here, um, yeah, if we are currently, so if we are, I think what's going on there is I need to actually so that's fine. Up, down, left, right. Yeah, fully. And I mean, placed on the direction that I was given. Yeah, if I take left and right. Yeah, see now those controls are actually working quite well. This clamping value is a pain in the ass, so I'll have to fix that up. When it gets to a certain threshold and then just bounces itself back, that shouldn't be happening. Um, so yeah, I'll fix that clamp and then I'll start putting some obstacles behind the camera so it does clicking. So it'll actually push the camera forward or back based on whether it hits something. Um, What this needs to do is it needs to check if the mouse is fixed. It doesn't always register the on stop. The concern. I mean, we'll give that a go, see if that helps. But there appears to be this issue where, like, if I quickly tap drag and let go, it doesn't reset the view every time. Like that. And now if I move forward and back, it's got this weird view. It may just end up being a case of, like, I turn this off. Oh, and I essentially just go. Damn it. What's the problem? I want that. I want that functionality to just work. It should not be a bastard. I swear. I think I know what's going on. It's because it's firing this and then firing one last frame of the subject. Um, I think what might need to happen is this reset view needs to actually change the value. And then once that's set, then it'll hit this point and it'll actually stop it. I think we'll see. Not good. Oh, essentially what I'm going to do here, found the issue Windows with. So, okay, found the issue Windows was like, I know this driver uses like 0.01 amps, but we're going to turn this up to save on energy. Yeah, thanks guys. At least let me know before you fuck me. I like to be wined and dined before I get fucked. Yeah, cool. So, um, ah, here's hoping that this solves the issue of the rotation, not snapping back when the end of a frame is occurring. So this is one of the fun things about doing events. Yeah, it's having issues now. Where you do events and it doesn't know how to handle it. In what order? So what needs to be occurring is needs to occur in blue. Yeah. So this needs to be reset here. So push this onto the next line, push that onto the next line, fire reset here, and then we'll do a return. Cool. Awesome. So I think what will happen there is it'll check every time whether it should reset the view if it's a no input essentially. And if the camera doesn't equal the angle that it should be, then it'll do the reset. The only issue with this being is that if we're doing mouse input, yeah, then it's going to do this. I'll show you in a minute, where it's not going to let me rotate it on. Yeah, it's going to reset it every time the mouse starts moving. Okay, so what I need to do now is this look stop on stop. I can essentially turn this off, unsubscribe from that. And what I need to do now is get into player input. I need to create essentially a left mouse press. I'm going to do a right mouse press as well. So it needs to happen here. Right. Input. Right. And I'm doing it. Mouse left press. Input right. And then this needs to be the left press state, say mouse left. Pressed. And then essentially I need to do I could do a middle and a right. Let's actually just stick with doing right. I need the middle click press at some point, then I'll do it, but for now it's not bother. So from there I also need to copy you, paste you, mouse. Oh, really? Did I spell it with a capital P? That's all. That's not gonna gel well later on down the track. I know it's wrong with these. I'll replace that stick in a moment. Mouse. And these actually need to be right, not left. That one's right, and this one's right. That's right. Press, and left, press, impact, left, press. Yes. Right. It needs to go. Stick needs to go. Stick needs to go. This needs to be right. That's right. That's right. It's getting bad. Yeah, that's cool. And then we'll just double check up here. Gamepad. Mouse, 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 mouse. And they're all flight inputs. I'm just going to quickly rename these ones that are spelled with a capital P. Yeah, cool. They're being more appropriate now. The other thing that needs to occur is this. And this. Oops. I'm going to cut that. This needs to be now. Yeah, so that's mouse. This also needs to be mouse. And then I need to get rid of stick. You're all good on there on your side effort with your lovely Windows issues, doing what they do best. If I go here, I essentially need to do a bunch of like cleanup and unsubscribing. Unsubscribing from these, and I'm cleaning up these two. I also need to create a counterpart of these. So going forward, I'm gonna want to create something a little bit more intuitive for these. Like this is having a really bad code smell to it right now. Which essentially means I'm doing a lot of repeat shit that I shouldn't be doing. To be able to just turn into like a class or something to reduce the amount of manual coding. Spending with a friend on Discord, planning on starting off the stream in a bit. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, if you do, I'll probably tune in for a little bit. I'm probably going to go to sleep soon. Partner's probably heading to bed. Oh, hey, cool. So I think that's all the mouse events inside of player input. I need to go in here. I need to add and get mouse press. Close that. Let's drag the mouse left press up there. I need to add another one and get new mouse right press. And drag you up there. This one needs to be, I believe, value analog. Analog needs to be mouse. It is left button, keyboard mouse. Right button and keyboard mouse. Yeah, cool. So what's happening here is, yeah, play value, so it's an analog value that's coming from there. So if I save that, mouse left press, mouse right press, mouse left press, mouse right press, Yeah, cool. So they're pushed into there, it's subscribing to the events, setting them up, it's making sure that it fires, and it sets these values need to be mounted. So make sure it's setting the right value, otherwise we're going to have a whole bunch of weird bugs. Cool. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that's the player input class set up for mouse inputs as well now. So I can go into my Zoom and I can perform a check. No, it's my camera look. So I can actually go into here now and then I can do a check. Yeah. With underscore input dot mouse left press. Yeah. The reset view happens there. So what could actually happen is I'll keep that logic there. Essentially what I need to do is I need to check if both of these cases don't occur. So if input dot gamepad right stick pressed equals false. So if it's not pressed, and underscore input dot mouse left press is false, then that means that we should be resetting the view. So if I go into here and I go oh, and I say that this or this is full, now it should return. So essentially what this is saying is that if my right joystick on my controller isn't pressed and the left button of my mouse isn't pressed, then I should check whether or not the camera is reset. If it is reset, then I can return. Otherwise, if it isn't reset, I'll do the logic to actually reset the bastard. So that means potentially I can actually comment this out. Because it should check the logic for me. So I guess we'll give that a go. And we'll check if the controller plays nice. Yep, so it's playing nice. Zooms in, zooms out, rotates. Awesome, and it snaps back. Yep, cool. So that's what this reset view stuff is doing. It's actually resetting it back to like the forward direction of the character. Yeah, whereas the mouse itself is having this funky thing where it's kind of snapping back the moment the mouse pauses for a moment. Okay, never mind. It's playing nice now. Oh, apparently it's working. Yeah, so that means that my movement logic and my rotation logic are all working now. I just need to fix that clamp angle, so that weird thing where it goes slightly too low and then it snaps up to facing up down. So it's going from up downwards above the player. And that's due to the clamping. When you work in rotations, usually, let me pull up rotating gizmo. Sorry. Let's do it from Okay, it's doing it likewise too. That's not very good. I don't want it to be from there. I want the pivot to be from. Your position, Y position is fine. I also want to change where this pivot is coming from. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So the pivot's coming from the actual player. That's where it should be. So essentially what happens is with the clan, I'll show it from the camera's perspective, actually. We'll grab the camera. And we'll drag the game view over here. So this is the game view, and this is the scene view. So essentially what happens is the camera rotates up here fine, and as you can see over here in this rotation value, it goes positive. So you keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and it goes to 90, so on and so forth. But what happens is when it gets to 0, and it does negative here, that's fine. And, you know, you'd expect it to go negative. But the problem is it goes negative all the way, and you can do a full rotation in negative. And then you can keep going in negative. So it kind of doesn't know when to stop. In that sense, it will keep track of it. But the problem is that when you do it via code and you're setting rotations, it generally goes between a value of 0 to 180. And when it hits 180, it actually goes to a negative value from negative 180 to 0. So there's actually two halves of a circle, and when you reach a 180 point, it doesn't know what to do with it and actually ends up doing this weird gimbal lock where it might flip your rotation completely opposite or do a rotation in a different, I guess, direction. It's called gimbal lock. Let me see if I can put it up. Which is essentially the solution I want to be fixing. I actually think it's a bit better for it. Yeah, so gimbal lock is essentially when you rotate on X degrees, there's a point in which it locks and it cannot rotate anymore because it doesn't know how it should be rotating based on previous rotations. And that's the whole point of doing quaternions. It adds this like fourth dimension that allows it to properly track the amount of rotations. So essentially what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to look up some I need to do an X. No, not is essentially what I want on the x-axis, and that's exactly what I want. I want to clamp on the x-axis. So, having trying to out practice, it seems to need to skill halfway. Because specifically much of on breaking up the balance, use something. So, values and rebuild your rotations of the frame rather than accumulating them as you do. And what? The if values and rebuild your rotations every frame. Yeah, that's doing a multiplication and a division. I really don't want that. Right. Yeah, speed V, speed H, don't care about that. Rotation, expectation, don't care about that. It's getting the inputs, I've already got all that. It's the actual clamping logic that I want to recall. I've done this so many times, but every time I gotta do it, for some reason I completely forget it. It's essentially like checking whether or not it goes past the negative value and then essentially flipping the notation of that value, so it becomes negative or positive based on whether it goes past 180. I mean, that's nice to have a negative and a positive, and I'm pretty sure that's what I already do. And like, yeah, I do a negative and a positive. Still having issues with that plan. I can by changing it to a slightly lower value, because there's another thing with floating point values. So floating point values are essentially just numbers with decimals. But there's a rounding issue with them where if it reaches a certain number in that decimal range, it will actually default to bumping it up or down. Which means if you get close enough to the number, it will eventually put on the number even though it's not there yet. It's rounding error, essentially. It hits 0 and resets. Well, it went negative for a moment there and it just reset. Yeah. Play a camera. Like, it's in there. Nine. It's 0 and reset. Yeah, that's not good. So find out where we can use references. Was one camera looking camera really say the value is less than or equal to the minimum value, then current should equal min, and then one min should be a float. If it's greater than or equal to the max value, current should be equal to max, and then the max should be float. Okay. Otherwise, current is just equal to the value, and then we do unchanging float. Okay, that's fine. You might have to do with the stock current value there. Are you actually applied? That still doesn't explain if it's still snapback, because essentially it should be taking into account for that min value. That's what I'll do. is going to this, 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 the fine. Okay, now debug is on. Okay, cool. So what are the thing our value was actually? Very briefly before I get to the info. So it says that our current is 2.5. We've hit a max account. What? See, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It hit a negative, and then it just considered it to be with 360. And then 360 is actually being considered as higher than what it should be saying here is 89. Yeah, exactly. So this is that thing I was talking about where it shows it as a representation of a negative value inside of the inspector, say inside of this window here, up in the top right for the rotation. But what's actually happening under the hood is it's considering it as a positive value still. So we actually need to be retrieving it slightly different. And that's where this business is coming in. It's doing mod 360. Anything else? If that's the case, then it needs to be taken into account for the fact that the camera should be within the range of 280, 270, 360, and 360 is considered 0 as well, and then 0 to 90. Pretty sure if you do FPS camera. Give me your man. Yeah, so limit break, transforming user angles. I just want to know the value flip. Yeah, here we go. This is what he's doing for his value flip. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all I needed. Yep. About this right here. Duck belly down. So essentially, I mean, the Y value is greater than anything. So I get my rotation. Value Y is from my rotation. So I need to grab this value Y, and I need to actually do the plane here instead. What I essentially do Everything is completed. Gonna need to put the value in play with line minus their 6. Yeah, otherwise it's just a value. So, and then a passing value to y. It actually needs to be a full value that equals that. And then I need to check if also makes it a bit more complex. And then I need to pass X into here to set it, and then that's where the actual plane can happen. And then the rest happens. Oh, so this should give me my upper rotation now. Yeah, and this needs to be the same. This needs to have things applied. That needs to happen in here. This set needs to happen in here. Actually, the whole thing is happening there, I believe. But it doesn't get reused elsewhere. Yeah, so the whole thing exists inside here. And once it gets out of the scope, it plays out the next step. Yeah, cool. So I think that's the clamping value I needed in order to restrict the camera going out of the Y max and Y min. Yeah, it's compiling. It's freaking me out while it's compiling. I don't blame it. Damn it. Yeah, okay, you got there in the end. Good job. Oop, still compiling. Damn it. I'll tell you what the problem is. I'm still debugging. How about yeah, for some reason, Visual Studio Code debugger tends to like hold for a good minute, 2 minutes if you do a proper recompile, which is a bit bothersome when you could have just stopped it, not have run, and then it can just do things in the background without freezing the computer. Right now, I want to unpause this game, but it's not letting me do it. It's not ideal. Thank you. Easy. Who knows that hard to stop? Okay. Alrighty. Cool. There's my min, there's my max. Awesome. So that's essentially the weird clamping value that I was having an issue with earlier solved. So now you see this camera is probably going up and down. I can look left and right, I can look up and down. Sweet. And I don't have that weird like snap, 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 snap every time I reach this 0 value here. Cool. So that means I now have zoom, I now have rotate, I now have move. the next thing, I guess, is to get the camera to zoom in based on clipping value. So if I hit the ground, then it should zoom in to keep the ground in view. Essentially, the way you do this is you do like a ray cast. A ray cast is just you shooting like a line out into space, and you do it from the camera's origin through to the player or the pivot point that you want the camera to go from. So, for example, while we're here, let's actually change the pivot point for the camera. Generally, you want the pivot point to be going from let's reset this rotation, by the way. Generally, you want the pivot point to be going from where you would expect the player to be viewing from. So you can do the head. You can also do over shoulder. So over shoulder would be like over here or something, and it's the offset. But for this one, we're just going to do overhead. So around about head height where you'd expect the eyes to be. I'll quickly save that. And then if we click play, the rotation should actually happen around this point now rather than from the feet down here. Yeah, it all happens from the head now. Lovely. Cool. So essentially what we'll do is when we do a ray cast, we do the ray cast from... Let's change the size of this inspector. We essentially do the ray cast from the camera. So from this point here towards this point here. And then we check if there's anything along that line that may block the camera's vision of this player. And if it does, then we essentially find that point and put the camera slightly in front of it so that it isn't clipped by that object. There's certain funky things you can do where if you don't necessarily have anything that properly blocks the view, so for example, the back of a wall might not actually be rendered because it's a one-sided texture or one-sided surface. You can check for that, and generally that's called a normal. So the direction of the surface that is visible to the camera is the normal of that surface. So if you was like a line that points out saying, hey, I face this direction. When you look at me, if you're within this range of looking at me, then I should be visible. And essentially you check if it's not visible to the camera, then you don't clip. But if it is visible, then you clip. Cool. So now that we're going from the head, we can actually change the height of this camera to be a little bit more appropriate. Inside the edge. Oh, where we had it. So apply prefab player. Let's apply prefab player. Yeah, we want to apply to 0.7. And we want to do that because that's us changing the height. Let's wait for the rest of these values. There we go. So right, it's the transform. Yeah, no one of that. So now if we click play, it should look a little bit more usable. Yeah, cool. So this is actually based on the head point now. It's not like weird up here. I've only seen just the head. This is about what you would expect in like a third person, potentially MMO, or being able to zoom in a first person, third person to first person point of view. Cool. I guess the next thing is, that camera clip. That's going to take a bit of math, though, and I'm probably able to suck it out for that tonight. So next session I'll go through the camera clipping. So that will have our camera and our basic movement working. I've already got sprinting in there working, so that's fine. And I've got inputs for like menu, inventory items, and all of that stuff working. So the inputs are in place. It's just building up the UI and everything around that to properly interface with those inputs. And a bit of that code I've already been writing. And I've got like massive libraries of code that I've written in the past for all those sorts of things. I've started building up some of my generic code that I usually build for like combat and stuff. Um, and then I'll start pulling in my item logic for items and stats for abilities or skills, essentially. It's another one that'll come in at some point. I'm not planning on having anything too crazy in this game. Essentially, it was supposed to be like a never-ending survival where essentially you just stay on one spot and then you get hordes of enemies running at you. I guess in a way, kind of like is it Dead by Daylight or no, not Dead by Daylight. It's kind of a mix of Don't Starve with Campfire, where the darkness comes in from the edges, but there's like hordes of like monsters that run out. And for the actual look of it, I was thinking of doing something along these lines. So probably not that, more like this. I can actually go to what I think it is, anything to the load code. So I've got these packs of assets these. So this sort of work. So I've got all these creatures and stuff ready to be used. You'll essentially like have hordes of these running at you, and you've got to like fend them off. Well, either way, I think that's it for me for tonight. I'm gonna pass out. Yeah, it's 1 in the morning, but yeah, good stuff. If you're still there, effort, yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. I know catch these evenings. Yeah, dude, stay safe. I'll probably catch more streams for that, right? Hope you're staying high. But otherwise, I'll yeah see you my day after. I think I've got some bits I gotta do during the day, and I'm gonna do some stuff around work and some side hustle stuff. But yeah, I'll catch you later. Catch you later, alligator. See you in a while, crocodile.